Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host and CEO of VitalityOET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or waking around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet nothing seems to be working. In fact, it feels like your body is working against you even though you're putting in all this effort. But we know now that your body is inherently different than what it was prior to you experiencing these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, live a life full of vitality, feel in control and at home in your body again, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today, what I want to talk about is cortisol reduction. There is so much out there about cortisol. We all know what's going on. I'm going to give you guys a summary, but I have a list of 20 things that are really cheap or free for you to do to help improve those cortisol levels. 20 things. So let's dive into what cortisol is in the first place, perimenopause and menopause things, and then we'll go dive into that list for you. So cortisol is important. It does get a bad rap, but it's because cortisol is just chronically elevated, right? We live in this time where there is so much stress. So much stress. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't think I have that much stress. I handle it well. No, you aren't. You can tell yourself that. But what is going on inside of your body is a totally different thing. And that's sending signals to your brain to tell you what's actually going on. And you are, in fact, stressed out. What we want to see is higher cortisol levels in the morning and then lower cortisol levels as the day goes on. But we see things where cortisol is low in the morning, high in the afternoon, or your blood cortisol seems to be normal. But when we look at metabolized cortisol and how much your body is actually producing through a Dutch test, it's really, really high. And then where you test during a day is going to matter as well, right? So just because you have high cortisol or normal cortisol in the morning, where it's supposed to be higher, doesn't mean it's not higher in the evening, which is definitely going to mess things up. So side note is blood tests suck for measuring cortisol because it gives you one moment in time, and we don't have that much cortisol actually circulating through our blood. It's in other areas of our body. So I'll dive more into this, but Dutch testing is where it's at. Saliva testing can be helpful as well. However, there are some pros and cons to that. So Dutch testing is really great for that. I'll put a video about that in the show notes for you if you are interested. But back to it. You are stressed out. So here are some examples of what are causing you stress. Your family stress, your kids, your spouse, your pet pooping on the floor, not sleeping enough, work deadlines, not a great boss, hostile work environment, past trauma, grief, sickness, injuries, chronic conditions, chronic pain, low energy, we're not eating enough food, we're skipping our meals, we're fasting, we're having coffee on an empty stomach, highly processed foods, we're go all the time, we're being the taxi mom, we're working through our lunch breaks, we are just on all the time. You are stressed. And when we're stressed, your body is going to negatively impact estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone cannot be produced in the presence of cortisol, okay? Because your body steals what it needs to build progesterone and just hands it over to cortisol on a silver platter, which leaves you with fluid retention, feeling puffy, inflammation in your face, not being able to sleep. You typically are going to be more anxious, more depressed, decreases in serotonin. There are so many things that happen. We also see our liver takes a hit. Gut health gets worse, more inflammation, more bloating, more food sensitivities and allergies that we never used to have. We see that our blood sugar gets worse. Our thyroid function goes down, so our body can't burn as many calories at rest, which makes losing weight hard and gaining weight pretty easy. So there's so many things that happen, and we need to be aware of that. So signs of like low progesterone from high cortisol are going to be fluid retention, anxiety, mood changes, depression from lower serotonin levels. We're going to see weight gain, trouble losing weight, low libido, hot flashes, migraines, and headaches. When we have improper estrogen levels, we'll have more dry skin. We will have weak, brittle bones and an increased risk of developing osteoporosis, trouble concentrating, irritability and mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats, irregular periods or no periods at all, weight gain, particularly in the belly and the hips, headaches, decreased libido, fatigue and trouble sleeping, struggling to put on muscle mass so we're not looking fit and toned despite working out, insulin resistance and sugar cravings. We're going to see testosterone go down, which leads to weight gain and weight loss resistance, low libido, no motivation, insulin resistance, mood swings, you cry so much easier, low energy, low muscle mass or hard to put on muscle mass. You'll find leakage and urinary incontinence. Then we also will see an increase in androgen levels, which is not what we want. And that's where we start seeing hair growth where we don't want it, acne, oily skin. We start seeing dark skin patches, thinning of your hair, depression and anxiety, increased risk of developing PCOS, weight gain. We also see blood sugar issues. So this is where even if you're fasting, even if you're eating low carb, that higher level of cortisol is going to break down muscle mass and take it to your liver to turn into sugar to dump into your bloodstream anyways. And then the breakdown of muscle makes you even more insulin resistant because we don't have anywhere for sugar to go, so it gets stored into fat. So this is why fasting and cutting out carbs typically is not super great for women going through perimenopause and menopause who have a high stress life. We see issues of gut health and liver issues. So detoxification takes a hit. So that leads to more hormonal imbalances and more inflammation in your body, which increases cortisol even more. We're going to see bloating, so when we're in this high state of stress, blood goes away from our gut to our arms and legs to either fight the bear or run away from this bear. And since that happens, then there's no blood in our gut to help contract our guts. So then we see more bloating, which can then lead to leaky gut, which leads to more inflammation, more food sensitivities, autoimmune conditions, which all make it a lot harder to lose weight. Then we see thyroid function, and symptoms of thyroid function are brain fog. You start losing your hair. You're constipated. You have a hard time regulating your body temperature. You have mood swings. You are always tired. High cholesterol levels, also common when estrogen goes down. We also see our metabolism slows down, so our body sucks at burning calories, making it harder to lose fat and much easier to gain weight. That increase in inflammation I was talking to was going to increase your blood sugars even more and lead to more chronic disease risk like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And then we're also going to see our mood goes to crap. Our sleep isn't good. We're waking up in the middle of the night. We have low energy. We get sick easily because our body is stressed out. We have more cravings because our body is looking for energy. Fluid retention, because that's what our body does when it's stressed out. And it seems like we age quicker with higher cortisol levels. So our skin, our hair, we just don't look as youthful because our body is stressed. And none of that is fun, right? And as I mentioned, it takes a lot less to bring cortisol up because estrogen and progesterone help buffer stress. So as that starts to decline, it would be a 9 out of 10 before we start seeing all those negative side effects I just listed. Now it only takes a 5 out of 10 and you start seeing those things. So despite you not changing anything, internally, your body can't handle what it used to. And this is why we need to adjust the way we approach fat loss and why focusing on improving our cortisol control is so important. Because if you don't, good luck losing weight. It's going to be damn near impossible, I promise you. So again, the other fun fact too here is with cortisol, you have 4 times the receptors for that in your belly fat than anywhere else in your body. So as long as you're stressed, that stress response, those stress hormones need somewhere to go. And it needs to hold it in belly fat. So you're not going to get rid of belly fat until you get rid of stress. And it's not realistic to get rid of stress. So we need to learn how to buffer that through like proper nutrition and lifestyle because it's not realistic to just get rid of all the stressors in our life. That doesn't work, right? So what are the phases of high levels of cortisol, and what about low cortisol? I get that question a lot as well. So you have stage 1, which is your alarm phase. It's characterized by high cortisol, and this is typically because you're overstimulated or you have a scare. So you're really hyper-focused, your breathing increases, your heart rate increases, you are go, 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 you're getting stuff done, you can do it all. You might feel like a little bit of stress, tiny bit of anxiety, maybe minor GI issues, but nothing major. So this is how you feel like right before a big presentation or a talk or things like that, right? Like it's just a short burst of stress and then you're fine. But then we move into stage 2 where it's just stays high for too long. And this is wired and tired. This is high cortisol. This is where you're exhausted, but you can't sleep. You're waking up between like 1, 4 a.m., can't get back to sleep. Your brain just keeps going. It doesn't shut off, right? And I hear this a lot from women. So this is a typical sign of too much cortisol. This is where we start experiencing energy crashes, blood sugar issues. We start having cravings as well because our body needs energy. That's like a normal response to stress. And you might get that second wind at nighttime. Then we go into stage 3, which is our resistant phase, which is, cortisol is now lower. Okay. Your body just like isn't responding well with adrenals anymore. Because you've been running on high stress for too long. So now our body just isn't producing enough cortisol. So now you're tired. Blood sugar is really not that great. You're having way more sleep issues. Digestion is not good. Typically a lot of bloating here. Libido is pretty darn low. Caffeine really doesn't seem to like do anything for you anymore. And your sex hormones really start to get affected here. Thyroid really takes a hit. You start seeing weight gain, and recovery after workouts or stressful events seems to take a lot longer. And this is how I know when I'm like, I really need to take a break. It's like I'll have like an event or something, or like a stress that really shouldn't affect me that much. Then I just feel like so depleted for the rest of the day or the day after. I'm like, okay, I need to like take better care of myself. This is a very big sign for me. And then we have stage 4, which is exhaustion. And this is where you are just burnt the F out, to be completely honest. You don't have enough cortisol. You cannot deal with stress. Your reactions aren't the best. You're very reactionary. You reflect back and you're like, wow, I think I may have overreacted. You have more depression, way more cravings. Abdominal fat really starts to increase here. Sometimes you can get dizzy upon standing. Blood sugar regulation is pretty garbage at this point as well. So this is important. And I know many of you are probably like, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do. Like you listed off so many symptoms that sound like me. I'm dealing with lots of those hormonal issues that you talked about. I'm struggling with my sleep, my energy, my blood sugar, my digestion. Yeah. So stress is something that we need to address here. So what can you do? Here are the 20 things. Are you ready? 1, eat enough food. This is step number 1. So important. I cannot stress this one enough. If you are not eating enough food, your body will stay stressed. Okay. And yes, you want to lose weight. That doesn't mean you can't. But until you start eating enough food, your body will never handle the stress. So how much food do you need? Depends on the person. So just message me. I will help you calculate how many calories you need. This is going to vary person to person, but like if you are not eating enough food, you will never get out of this. I promise you that. That's rule number 1. Number 2, sleep. Sleep is huge. Going from just 6 hours to 7 or 8 hours will make an astronomical difference. You see, when we allow cortisol to go down, we are able to produce our sleepy hormone melatonin. And so that helps us fall asleep and stay asleep, right? If we have a bedtime snack that has some carbs and then some protein or fat, that not only is going to help lower our cortisol levels so melatonin can come up and be produced, our sleepy hormone, but it'll also stabilize our blood sugars through the night, allowing us to sleep through the night. Because usually when you wake up, it's from a blood sugar drop and a cortisol spike. And a lot of people are like, oh, to avoid this, just don't eat. No, because remember how I said that if you aren't getting enough food, that's stress on your body, but also your body needs more energy because your body needs energy during sleep, believe it or not. And so your body will start breaking down muscle mass. Cortisol will go up, muscle mass will get broken down, taken to liver, turn into sugar, put into your bloodstream to provide you with energy. And that wakes you up. So if you're having a bedtime snack with a slow digesting carb, like some oatmeal and protein powder, or even some whole grain bread with peanut butter on it, those little protein oat balls, you can do yogurt with some granola and protein powder. You can do popcorn and a turkey pepperoni stick. There's so many things that you can do, and that will really help with your sleep. And this is something we do with all the women in our program, and it makes a huge difference. Because if you are stressed out because you're not eating enough food, or you can't sleep, your cortisol is going to be so high. You're going to have energy crashes. When our energy crashes, what does our body tell you? I need sugar. You get cravings, which is going to make things a lot harder. And then you're going to have another blood sugar spike. You're going to have another blood sugar drop, which is going to raise your cortisol again. So for me, for example, like I used to have a Fitbit. I used to track my sleep with it. And if I got less than 7 hours of sleep, I would literally eat 400 calories more in a day. Like this is something I watched and kind of monitored. And I was like, why am I eating so much more on these days than other days? And it was always after a poor night's sleep. And the foods that I'm aiming for would be like chocolate or chips or things like that are going to spike and drop my blood sugar again. And then just makes that cycle of high cortisol keep going and going and going. And your sleep gets worse and worse and worse. And you don't want that. So that's number 2. Number 3, de-stressing. We need to tap into that rest and digest portion of our nervous system because we're so stuck in fight or flight all the time. And this doesn't mean that it has to be like, a massage or a bubble bath. This is just 5 minutes to slow down your breathing, slow down your heart rate, fill up your cup. Maybe it's sitting outside with your face in the sun, having a cup of tea with your feet in the grass. Maybe it's coloring. Maybe it's crosswords. Maybe it's knitting, crocheting, listening to music, journaling, laying on the ground, putting your feet up, whatever that is, just 5 to 10 minutes a day to get yourself out of that high stress state because your body needs it. And we have to be aware that low calorie, low carb, not sleeping enough, doing a ton of exercise, being go, all of our other life stressors, that's a huge stress in our body. So we need to learn how to buffer stress in other ways. And this might even just be like having a good balanced snack, So it can be just as simple as coloring. Then exercise. Exercise is going to stimulate the release of cortisol, and high intensity is going to increase it dramatically, right? Which is not great, especially if you aren't eating enough food, if you're going through menopause, if you're struggling with energy, digestion, sleep, eating low calorie. HIIT is contraindicated. Yes, there are studies that show that high intensity training can be beneficial for women in perimenopause and menopause, but these are women who are athletic, who are healthy, not dealing with hormonal symptoms. If you are someone that has low energy, struggling with sleep, not eating enough carbs, fasting, being go, you have all these stressors and you're tired, HIIT is the last thing that you should be doing, okay? So what you should be doing is focusing on building muscle, because muscle is going to help you become more resilient. It's going to help you with your blood sugar control, which are very important during perimenopause and menopause. So we want to focus on lifting heavier, getting stronger every week to week. We're following the same program for 4 to 6 weeks. We are taking 2-minute rests between our exercises. We're trying to move slower, more intentionally, squeezing the muscles you're supposed to be using, doing a full range of motion, slowing it down, and genuinely trying to get stronger every single week. That's going to send the signal to our body to build muscle. The cardio, the HIIT, those boot camps, the F45s, the Orange Theories, the circuit training, those do not send the signal to build muscle. They don't. So this is something that's really, really important. You want to make sure that you're eating pre-workout. You're having some carbohydrates, whether that can be some fruit, which is really great because we have a harder time accessing energy stores and our estrogen goes down. That's going to help blunt that cortisol response as well and allow you to get a better workout because you actually have energy to pull from. And then having a post-workout snack to help lower your cortisol levels post-workout because exercise increases it. Food will decrease cortisol. So having carbs and protein after a workout, very, very, very important. Okay. Number 5, stimulants. Avoiding them after 2 p.m. because they increase cortisol, which will negatively affect your sleep. This includes coffee. This includes chocolate. This includes soda, because all those are pumped full of caffeine. Number 6, carbohydrates. This one should be number 2, honestly, because carbohydrates lower cortisol levels. They have this inverse relationship, and it's also going to help with your thyroid. Higher carb diets help with thyroid function. If thyroid function is good, your body burns more calories at rest, making weight loss and weight maintenance so much easier. Okay. We have increased insulin resistance during perimenopause, so it's important to make sure when you're having your carb that you're never having it on its own. So you're always pairing it with a protein or a fat. And then also when we're having the carbohydrate, if you can have some protein or veggies before you have your carb, even better. So you still need carbs. We want to watch that blood sugar. So how you pair your foods and the order of eating really matter. Okay. Number 7, no fasting, because in the morning when you wake up, that's when your cortisol levels are highest. If you don't eat, your cortisol levels go even higher. If you have coffee on an empty stomach, goes even higher. If you're working out, goes even higher. We want to keep cortisol at bay. Have your breakfast and then have your coffee. Very important. The next one is feet up. Getting your feet up is so important. So this is where you can lay on the floor, put your feet up against the wall. So you're making like an L shape. And what happens is it brings blood flow from your legs back to your gut to help you digest, because we know during fight or flight, blood goes away from the gut to your arms and legs to fight the bear or run away from the bear, leading to more bloating, more constipation, and you feeling like garbage. Laying on the floor, focus on slowly breathing. Will lower your heart rate, will lower your breathing rate, will bring blood flow back to your gut, help with your bloating, and help with your cortisol levels. Inflammation. Higher inflammation equals more cortisol equals more inflammation. So paying attention to your food choices, super important here. So we want to be focusing on more whole foods. We want to make sure that we're getting natural food sources, avoiding more processed foods as much as we can. There's a place for them in your diet. You can absolutely have them, but you also have to remember that processed foods still include a lot of health foods. So these are like, different keto wraps and the keto chocolate bars and the high protein muffins and all those things. They're still processed, right? So you need to be paying attention. It's not just chips, chocolate, ice cream, that kind of stuff. A lot of those health foods are highly processed as well. So you do have to pay attention to that. Blood sugar, I already touched on that a little bit. The order that you eat food, prioritizing protein at all your meals is going to help with this drastically, which will help with your cortisol levels. Getting sunshine in the morning helps regulate your cortisol levels as well, which is amazing. Getting it through your eyes. So if you can avoid wearing sunglasses, that's ideal. But do you ever notice that when your kids are outside and they're playing around, they sleep so much better? That's because of the sunshine's effect on cortisol and regulation and serotonin and all these other wonderful hormones and neurotransmitters that help lower your cortisol levels to help you sleep. So there's a reason that when kids play outside, they sleep so good that night. You need more sunlight too. Most of us are stuck inside all of the time. Stimulating the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is important for keeping you out of fight or flight. A strong vagus nerve is good at rest and digest. So you can actually do this through like box breathing. So this is where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and repeat. Or just like really focusing on slowly exhaling, because that will stimulate your rest and digest portion of your nervous system more. Humming also does this actually. You can do cold exposure. Doesn't have to be an ice bath. I will never do that because it sounds awful and I don't like that. But you can do like a quick jostle of cold at the end of your shower, or just put an ice pack behind your neck. Very simple. Gratitude. This is a big one. So with gratitude, the way we think can actually raise our cortisol levels. So negative thinking raises cortisol levels. This has been shown statistically through studies, which is so cool. But your self-talk, negativity, focusing on the bad stuff. Like if you can do gratitude in the evenings, that can make a huge difference, as well as nature exposure. Nature helps lower your cortisol levels. It's wild. Do not eat on the run. When we're eating on the run or in the car, we're stuck in that fight or flight. We need to like slow down, take some few nice big deep breaths before you eat. And it'll actually help you with your bloating as well as lowering your cortisol levels, which is awesome. And that's what we want. Avoiding blue light before bed. So this is where wearing those blue blocker glasses can be super helpful, because otherwise it doesn't allow melatonin to be produced and it'll actually raise our cortisol levels, and then we can't sleep as well. So if you can have blue blocker glasses, that's amazing. And then oxytocin helps lower our cortisol levels. So this is petting your animals, getting intimate with your partner, snuggling, physical touch, as well as foods high in vitamin C, vitamin D, and magnesium are all great for helping with cortisol. For sure. You can also try taking an omega-3 because that lowers our inflammation, which will then help with cortisol levels as well, which is something to think about. And the really important thing to understand is that anything that helps regulate your cortisol control, regulate that cortisol curve, is going to help you improve your metabolism, which makes your body better at burning calories. It's going to improve your energy. It is going to reduce your brain fog. It is going to improve your concentration and your memory. It will decrease your cravings, reduce belly fat, improve your sleep quality, help you maintain and build muscle mass, decrease anxiety, improve your hormone profile and your blood sugar control, and of course, help you be able to lose weight, inflammation, fluid retention. So all the things that you can do to help improve your cortisol levels are going to help you immensely. And I listed off so many things there. The biggest one would be stop fasting, eat enough food, have enough carbohydrates, adjust your exercise, and focusing on your sleep. Like if I could only pick a handful, those would be the ones that I would really focus on. And again, if you have no idea how many calories or how much carbs you should be having, or what would be like the best place to focus your effort, because everyone's gonna be a little bit different, right? Like if you focus your effort in one area, you're typically going to get more bang for your buck. You're going to get better results for the effort you put in compared to other areas. So if you need help figuring out what that is, just message me. We will help you figure that out, or book a consultation call. That's honestly the easiest way. My DMs get pretty full pretty quick, so it can take a while back and forth over the course of a week or so to get you to answer all the questions I have, because I'll send you a ton, whereas a Zoom call, you can get it done in 30 minutes right there, right then, and get all the information that you need. So if you want to do that, there's a link in the show notes for you there. But the biggest thing, I just can't stress this enough. If you do not learn how to regulate your cortisol levels, how to set yourself up for success that way, you are always going to struggle with hormones, with weight. So we need to work on doing these things, because anything you do to improve cortisol is going to improve your health, your energy, and all the things that really matter. Have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.